information. And clean water services.
Let me.
It's a work. Maybe just get you here, because a lot of what he gave was some of the same.
Okay.
But clean water services was here, and they had their planner, they had their engineers, they had,
No one is being murdered. That's my dog.
he goes like he's talking.
Sit, I know, right? Sit with him, honey.
Mommy and he's calling you.
Hey, anyone that calls, just decline it, okay? Yeah, he does not, he has a little, he just got out of, he just got out of, general anesthesia, so. We're. Not himself. He's not himself, my husband will grab him too.
And then they broke up into, they have,
Oh, enjoy that flavor.
different plans set up.
Vernon, let her go.
That's where.
But I'm due his leash. That's all right, he'll come up here with me. I'm due his leash
How many minutes?
on his collar.
Oh, okay.
Frankie!
So that, reading the comments, that was the complaint, people didn't understand.
Frankie, come.
There we go.
Frankie!
And double
Part
this,
of the
but.
size of the room, and even when they had the member of the contract, planning, even at then,
Come here, baby.
crowded.
I'm not really home.
They didn't have a dog in your room.
Are you liking to reach out to DCCA news and my house? But
We could rent it.
right.
We could rent it. You know, we don't charge any money
Yeah.
for that ballroom for 4 hours, it's $100. So it's not even money.
Yeah, maybe the next one we should do.
I was gonna say, that might be worth it.
You can put, you know, at least 100 and plus people in there, chairs.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
And there was chairs out there.
Well, Ronnie said he recorded it, so I'm gonna be interested to listen to listening.
That's what they have signed,
I suppose that's
they
recorded.
were recording there.
No. If anyone can hear us, we're just waiting for Ronnie and Mike to come back in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but my mom went to, his work again, it went all the way with it up to the days and then, yeah. All right. We can, I think we can. Yeah, Running. I'm on?
Yeah.
Okay, for our work session? I'm calling our work session to order. Do we need to take a roll call?
Do that.
But, you know, I don't think, who's on Zoom, so we know?
Yeah, hang on. Can you hand me a microphone? That way they can hear us.
Okay.
Hopefully.
My microphone's not on, I'll turn it on. Oh, gee. There we go. All right.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, Kate, I think we can hear you barely though. We don't have the audio from the folks on Zoom over our speakers. Is there a way we can do that?
We can hear
Maybe
you.
on the phone? You can hear us.
Yes.
I can hear you. I can hear you, okay?
I can hear you and I can hear Smart and.
How do we do that?
We had the session where I think Lori was on Zoom. We could hear her well when we were in the chambers. So somehow you had it.
We can hear you better now. Yeah. Micah.
And you can hear us all right online?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I apologize, everyone. I'm just getting kind of settled. We have a child and a dog from the Fender household here with me today. So, can I hand it over to you while I just get this up on my computer and we will.
So we'll start with roll call. Councilors, we'll start with those that are here first. So Councilor Paulson. Here. Councilor Petrie.
Here.
Councilor Manellis.
Here.
Mayor Fender.
Here.
And online, Councilor Ocholi.
Yeah.
Councilor Moore.
Here.
Councilor Thompson.
Here.
And for staff, there's myself, Mike Weston, and Ernie Heffler. And Ronnie Smith. Sorry. Well, getting started, this is a work session for goal setting session from last time carried over. The council asked us to take the projects that we're working on and split them up into a more readable spreadsheet. So we've done that here, broke them out into an Excel sheet and listed them out based on items that we've had on our goal sheet, items that are left in action and still incomplete, and items that are completed. With that, I'm trying to remember where we left off at the last work session, but we need to focus in on what we can actually accomplish, what our staffing shortages and limitations are, and where we go from here, budget-wise, personnel-wise, and capabilities is the big question, right? What are our capabilities? And as you can see, we already have a very long list of items that we've been working on, items that we're working toward. This year is going to be a busy year already with the master plan and transportation system plan. You all are feeling a little bit of that with all the emails that are, hitting our email systems these days, all the comments that are flooding in. And we're just at the very beginning of this process, and this is going to be a long process over the course of the next 10 to 12 months. So it's not going to slow down, it's just going to get busier. We are trying to bring in some staff. Part of our executive session and work session was to talk about staffing shortages and human resource matters. So we now have announced the position for an admin assistant. We've been conducting interviews over the last couple of weeks. I expect that we'll conduct interviews over the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully early June I can get somebody in here. We need to make more calls and schedule more interviews, but time is limited, and it seems like we are scrambling to try to even get interviews lined up with our schedules. On top of that, we had the open house on May 12th for the Kingston Terrace master planning portion. With that, we had Steve Faust and 3J Consulting, along with Ann Sylvester and SCJ Alliance, in coordination with Clean Water Services, Chris Faulkner and Jay Dean, and I forget who else, but they were all here to present the Clean Water Services, the sanitary lines, everything else. That we had a packed house. There was about 94 people here. This room was standing room only. The lobby was jam-packed, standing room only as well. We had complaints that we did not do an online question and answer, and that the online forum was not conducive to allow public testimony, questions, comments, things of that nature. We tried to direct people to the online survey. That's how they were supposed to be interacting online, and people had trouble with that aspect. So what we're doing to address that shortfall is we are scheduling another online-only open house, because when we have online and hybrid, when we're basically doing hybrid, we have system complications, right? And those complications lead to the people at home not being to see or interact with any of us as hosts or panelists, and all they can really see is the PowerPoint presentation, and then they can hear us sometimes, but if the crowd is noisy, then it gets muffled, right? And there was also technical difficulties between the
internet.
television, the internet essentially coming out of this building is not that great. So the screen in the lobby was a good 5 to 10 seconds late. So the people in the lobby would get the audio from our mic
Right.
airing over there, but it didn't necessarily line up with the PowerPoint presentation that we would have on the screen. So the screens were timely, but the audio was not. Those were some of the complications that we had with the hybrid model, not to mention it was jam-packed, and we had a lot of people here. So,
Can we take pause real quick, because going forward, I do think we want to have a hybrid model for our council meetings, and we just don't seem to have the IP, right, like, we don't have it streamlined yet. So what are we doing to address, like, for example, being able to see people on Zoom, on the TVs and stuff like that? Do we have a plan?
we got it working today.
Oh, we did, okay.
Yeah, so but it's still,
Not a,
it's not as great as I'd like it to be, right? The camera's slow, so we have the camera up here, the white one.
Okay.
And we can pin the video.
okay.
Ronnie, can you project the video onto the monitors?
Yeah, can we see what, are you gonna show us what people see?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'd love
Well,
to see that. For-
Yeah, so there's two things
So let's see,
now.
yeah, let's see.
So I think right now they're probably looking at me.
So, yeah, right now they're looking at you.
But-
So the problem is with this, it's,
Can you show the council chamber video?
Yeah, okay.
Hey, this is Kate, everybody, and everything seems to be working great. I can hear and see everyone, and then when I was in chambers for the last meeting, it seemed to work well from that end too.
Yeah, I think we had a couple issues getting the PowerPoints going initially because there's a triple screen, and sometimes
Oh,
when you hit go to PowerPoint presentation, it'll put it up on the wrong screen. And then so you have to play with the screen swap button
Sure.
until it pops up. So this is
Okay.
what the video will pin,
okay.
and we can put this with the audio. That's the other problem that we're having technically is the audio, right? So somehow, some way, we need to get these mics lit up to the Zoom so that we can activate the mic only and link it so that that's the only audio instead of going off of the
Right.
tripod audio system that we have right here.
Cool.
Those are things that we need to work out.
Okay,
We've only done 2 hybrid meetings
Right.
so
yeah,
far.
right.
So this is
We're
only,
thinking so, yeah.
this is our third hybrid meeting right now. So
Right.
we are
This is
working,
much better than last time, so.
yeah, we're working out the problems as we go.
Good, great. Awesome, thanks, sorry for sidebar.
But back to what we're working on right now is just kind of going through these goals,
Yep,
identifying, I think the key that I wanted to get from the council is, what do you have on your radar? And is it feasible to actually accommodate that, right? Based on what we already have stacked against us and stacked on our shoulders already, and what we're projecting that we're gonna have to be working through over the next year.
right.
You know, we still have a wall on Fisher, people are asking if we're gonna be able to finish that wall, right?
Right.
And so that is another one that's been out there, barbecue pits at the park, horseshoe pits, benches at the park. Like, all these are little things
Yeah.
that we have on our, like, let's hit it when we have the money and resources to do it.
Right.
Right now, what we've been focusing on predominantly is the master plan and the transportation system plan, which is in its own right a huge planning,
Right.
list for us.
I
Right.
mean, I think
Basically me.
those park items are great, but should we look at repairing the path first?
The path is expensive,
Right.
and then you're looking at park funds.
Or I mean,
So-
could we just do sections, the worst sections, repair those?
Well, you can look at that stuff,
Yeah.
but you need to look at it with the budget in mind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
You need to also consider that every time that work is done on it, it costs us a certain amount, and doing it all at once is probably less
Yeah.
expensive overall than
Right.
it
Yeah.
is doing.
Yeah.
And there has to be grants out there that, right, again, we go back to some of these items that are gonna be priorities for us. We need some assistance from individual council members, maybe community volunteers, to help identify applicable grants and maybe work with the city on applying for them, because, I mean,
yeah,
That was my question, is are any of these things already funded or in any of those things we've already done in budget?
the master plan, the alternative analysis, and the transportation system plan were all grant funded.
Right, I'm talking more in terms of so I'm calling these public works things that's been relating to the park issues and the street and that sort of thing. I think the street is probably funded for the work that's gonna be going forward and, identify.
Right, I put those on there,
Project for 2022.
Queen Anne, Monterey, Carmel, and Camino.
So these things like the drainage and the wooden bridges, those, I'm calling those because they say public works things, are any of those, they are not funded?
No,
Okay. Small money, big money?
big money,
Big money.
and it's gonna require grant.
Basically.
Yeah, I think today, in today's world, it's like anytime we do any sort of public works project that we're looking at, it's big money.
and then it's whatever big money you think it is, and then triple it,
Yeah, pretty much.
essentially. It's awful.
And then, so what we try to do is get grants for a lot of those projects, right? So when we put these things on our list, like, you know, pathway drainage at the park, well, you know, Dave and I went out there in the pouring rain, and, you know, I worked on it for a few hours and couldn't figure it out. Dave went out there for a day and dug around, finally found the thing, and was able to get it flowing again. This is the drain that's down at the bottom by the park shed. There was a giant puddle there, and it was backing up, and all the water coming down from the park above was popping out of that drain, and it was clogged. Like, the drain itself was clogged, and so we had to go in there and cut the pipe itself, the last, like, 4 or 5 feet of the pipe, and cut it, so that we could actually access and get the water flowing.
Right.
So now we have the water flowing, we're looking at ways that we can build a rock encroachment there, so the water can filter through and not get backed up, like it did last time. So we're working on it, we got it draining, but there's still work to do, right? And there was water also puddling on the north side of the track, and we did put in 2 drains there and tied it into the drain system, so those are functioning properly now. But we've had so much rain in the month of April and May so far, that the park is still spongy at best. Like, it's not as, but, I mean, well, it's not as firm as it used to be, given the water situation that we've had this year. So it'll dry out and it'll recover, but for the time being, it's kind of a sensitive field
Right.
at this moment.
So, I'll just, I don't know what format you want to go into, but I'll just start us off, because I'm cognizant of our time. I think my priority is whatever is revenue driven for the city. I think that has to be a number 1 priority. So I think we really need to make annexation, a kind of a top priority, and and kind of beef up that. And then go forward and look at, you know, what are some of our other, I mean, you know that, right, park improvements are, of course, number one, but I think right now, they might just need to, you know,
They're not as big of
yeah, they just aren't, they're a luxury at the moment versus some of the things that I think we need to accomplish. With that being said, however, I do think we are getting a lot of interest in starting to make reservations in the park. And so I think that there's some low-hanging fruit that I think we can do down at the park where it might be, I mean, I would love barbecues, but I mean, that involves updating our insurance, that involves, you know, purchasing them, putting them in, right, whatever. Do we, for our website, do we have an ability to have like a reservation system that can easily be built onto our website without a lot of extra cost? Or is it still just call you up and make reservations from the city?
We don't have that software yet.
Okay,
Eventually, maybe we'll get there.
right,
We just started implementing Cassell.
okay,
The Cassell software is new this year, starting to come online. There's a lot of training
okay,
that's going on with that, so there's added workload that comes with new software, that comes with training, that comes with, bringing a lot of the stuff that we were, previously contracting out in-house,
yeah.
like payroll and,
Mhm.
you know, PERS and all that jazz, stuff that we were previously contracting, now we're doing in-house, now that
Great.
if that falls on Mira's shoulders, that's a new load for her that
Right.
she's trying to juggle. Making it a little challenging for her to keep up with, you know, just her day-to-day.
Right.
Not to mention passports have been off the hook and busy, and so that's why we're trying to bring in that extra admin person to give some relief there.
Mhm.
So we have limitations.
Right, with Cassell, is that something that Cassell can do eventually, or will we have to go outside of that program to?
I think you can do it eventually, but you have to buy the module that goes with it, right?
Correct.
So Cassell works in modules. Right now, we just have the financial module, but we were talking about a public works module or something to that effect, where that would come into play.
So they don't do parks and stuff like that per se. It would be, we would have to go through a different park or rec reservation system.
Okay, right,
Yeah,
okay,
it'll be a reservation system, but that's, it's on our to-do list, but it's
okay. I think so,
not
I
quite
think,
there yet.
right, because I think eventually getting, right, reservations for the basketball court and the tennis court and creating pickleball and doing pickleball, right? And then the gazebo, I noticed the board out there was the other day, and
Oh,
someone
okay.
had reserved it,
Yeah,
So
so,
to take that down.
yeah.
so Dave is usually,
Dave was gone, I was supposed to take it down Monday. I went down there and mowed, I must have forgot to take it down afterwards, so that's my fault.
Counselor Thompson has her hand up.
Hi, Donna.
Hi, thanks, Ronnie. Two things. One, when Lori was speaking, I couldn't hear her very well. Is your microphone on, Lori?
I'm probably not, can you hear me now?
Yeah, thanks. And then secondly, I couldn't agree more with Counselor Manelis. That's my number one concern too, and it was when I joined the council and when I interviewed for my position on the council initially when I was appointed, is safety concerns. And I think that pathway, I'll say it again, and I've said it before, I've been saying it for 2 years, that pathway at the park is a safety concern. And I think that should be our number one priority before anything else with the park, before any dugouts on the baseball field, before anything else. We need to address that. It's a safety issue. And I'm getting a little frustrated because I'm a council member and I've brought it up several times and nothing's been done. So I'm not sure what needs to be done to make that happen, but I think that that should be the number one priority.
And I just want to be clear and make sure I'm understanding kind of, you're talking about the raised routing and the bumps in the track, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I think the delay is that it's like $150,000 fix. And so
And it has to go
that's the problem, is that we just don't have that line item in the budget. So,
And it's contracted, it's a public works job, so it's,
we have to
you
send it
know,
out
state
for our
station
fee.
and all that jazz.
Yeah,
And-
if someone falls and gets hurt, what's the cost to the city?
Whatever our insurance.
Exactly. I don't wanna-
It's not
I don't-
cost, city's insurance, but it's that regardless.
Okay,
It
they
is a
go out
safety
and-
issue. Right, I totally agree. So just so you're aware, I worked with, Representative Neron at the beginning of the year to put it on the fiscal budget, and it wasn't accepted, so that put us back to the start. So it's not that we aren't doing anything, it's just that we haven't found the right solution to find the funding yet. So is there any other grants that we know, like what will it take to find more grants that we could maybe use to do that?
Well,
That might be, the problem is that other grants, Metro, without speaking ill of Metro, they do not put our track high on their list because candidly, we just don't have enough equity and diversity in King City to check that box to get us the grant. I mean, we apply every year, maybe twice a year for Metro grants, and Metro just doesn't think, they have other priorities elsewhere that they want to spend that money on. So, besides Metro grants, Mike, is there any other?
well, there's the
Great.
legislative funds, right? So we spoke with Rep. Neron just the other day, and although we missed that last bucket of money, we're still in the hopper for the next round,
Right.
right? It'll just carry forward, and hopefully next round it gets funded. It doesn't qualify for street fund money, so we can't use that. It would basically, we have to either pay it out of our general fund, or, basically wipe out the park fund and to do the track. And then we would have no more money to maintain and improve the park at a later date.
Maybe Mark and,
It might not even pay for it, sorry.
and Shauna, would you guys be willing to, look for any other grants outside of like legislature and Metro and see if there's, just maybe do a little bit of research on park grants that might be applicable, to King City that we could apply for to get that funding? Okay,
Yeah, I mean, and we've applied for grants for the trail.
yeah,
We've applied for park grants, we've applied for legislative money. We've
yeah.
applied for ODOT trails, it doesn't rank very high. One, because it only serves a small segment of the population, those people in that area of King City. It doesn't connect any larger trail system, and they just don't put it as a very high priority.
But I do think it is our only municipal park,
Right.
right? It's the only green space for our BIOPIC community, or BIPOC community. And I'm so frustrated that we keep getting low values on our grants for our EDI component, when candidly, there isn't any other space for,
Right.
our community to go to. And so, and it is, like Shauna said, it is a safety hazard. So, I commiserate with you, Shauna, and I agree, I'm frustrated, and, but it is a ton of money. So it would be great if we could all look and see if there's any other grants out there. And we might have to break it up, right? I mean, when I applied to the legislature for the park, it was the track and green space, right, for habitat restoration and the walking trail within the wetlands, and that habitat restoration and that trail system. Maybe we have to break it up into two parts, and so maybe that allows us to look at sports grants, for example, running, walking, right, clubs. Maybe the Portland Running Company might have a grant program for running. I mean, it's the only safe run, walk trail for our population, that's a quarter-mile track. I mean, maybe we can, also, the other thing to think about is there's no school track. So maybe like running clubs, scholastic running clubs. You know, I think if we think outside the box a little bit about who can use that trail or who can use that track, then maybe, right, maybe we can cobble together several grants, right? So all look as well, and,
Hey,
but
Mike.
yeah, if we can all kind of, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted, didn't we have this conversation last month with Garrett Rosenthal regarding, he was gonna check on something for us, right, Mike? In regards to the trail? Or the path?
Yeah, so I believe Councilor Rosenthal was talking about the regional trails fund and regional trails bond and what kind of money would be available to us. We did apply for regional flex funds for the trail itself, for the, not the trail within the park, but for the West Side Trail Segment 1, because the trail in the park doesn't meet any regional needs, but the regional flex fund,
Ronnie,
there's someone.
I'm going to the wrong area.
Keep-
Hello? Sorry.
Sorry for the interruption. So the regional flex fund can only be applied for regional trail networks. So those that are listed in Metro's group. Unfortunately, our community park is not part of their regional trail and therefore would not qualify for the regional flex funds that we applied for last time. And we just applied for that, and we applied for West Side Trail Segment 1 for engineering and plan design from Deep Bend Road to the Tualatin River. And that one is ranked like the lowest out of all the proposals
So frustrating.
because of our diversity within our community.
Which I still think they're using pre-2020 census data.
I think they are too.
And I want to absolutely update that because, you know.
It's incredibly frustrating because we have an impoverished community in Mountain View Mobile Estates up at the north end, and our diversity levels have like quadrupled in the last 10 years. And like, I don't believe that Metro is taking those into account when they look at our area, and our area is ranked very poorly for benefits to diverse communities. And I think Sherwood is also in that boat. Sherwood and Tualatin. No, Tualatin's better. So just Sherwood and Athens are ranked lowest, I think.
Can I ask a question, Mike? You had mentioned that the fix, or maybe it was Mayor Fender had mentioned that the fix for the cracks in the pathway is $150,000. Is it possible, or have you looked into getting a bid for not, I mean, I'm guessing that's like a replacement bid. There's got to be a cheaper way to do this to repair it and make it safer for the time being until we can afford the full Monty $150,000 replacement. Has anybody looked into that option? Mike?
I'm curious on what you're envisioning. The only thing I could think of would be to rip out the trail.
I'm envisioning grinding and filling the, so it's my understanding that you have rectified the cause of the problem, which was, I think, root intrusion or something. So what my thinking is grind it flat and fill the cracks so that it's not bumpy and unsafe anymore. Rather than replacing the whole thing. Replacing the whole thing, I would think, would be a huge expense. Grinding those still raised areas and filling those cracks cannot be a $150,000 job for sure. I mean, there's no way. So I'm wondering. Sorry?
And it's also, it's asphalt, not concrete, so you can't grind it the same way. And also, I don't believe it's as thick as, like, say, a sidewalk is.
It's like 2 to 3 inches. Yeah. So if you grind, you can't. It's not susceptible to grinding. Yeah, asphalt will just break apart, and then you're destabilizing the structure of the pathway itself. And it would just, then you would have holes in the asphalt, and the holes would create areas where the remaining path would just chip away and blow out, anytime anyone walked over it or touched an edge of it.
Maybe, like, I looked at the east side, that's the worst.
Yeah,
Maybe what is to replace that section?
$76,000. Yeah, we did a whole engineering piece, and that was phase
And
one,
that was how long ago?
just like last year.
Oh, okay, I was gonna try.
Yeah,
Make sure
we
that-
did it for our grant application, ODOT Trails, and we did a phase one, just repair the park that's safety hazard, and then a phase two to do the whole trail and around that. And so the $350,000 was the total for the project in total. Just to do patch job for that area along that side, you're looking at $76,000.
Wow. Hey, Mike, would you mind sending me that bid, please?
Yeah, I'll send you the engineering from our, Murray Smith Associates.
And
Part
I'll
of
send,
our grant application.
I'll send you and Mark the grant application I did, or the legislature funding application that I did for Courtney Neron, so that you guys can kind of see how I broke it up and some of the buzzwords that I tried to use in the application. And
I think we also had a public restroom in the grant that we applied for legislative funds.
we did, but I separated it out to the trash, the restroom, and then the trail habitat restoration.
Yeah, and then
I broke it out.
Murray Smith did for us, they broke out the cost of redoing that pathway along that eastern side from that north trail section over by the bridge down around to the backside of the dugout, or the backstop, where the last root uprising was. And that came out to that 76,000.
And that,
I mean, I think. Oh,
Sorry.
Go ahead, John.
again, Mike, is that $76,000 to replace that section or to repair that section? Or is that the same, using the same term?
You're splitting the terms, but you have to do a replace. You have to basically remove it,
Yeah.
grind it out, break it up, get it out of there, and then relay asphalt.
Okay, so
You have to do like that.
it's a
You have to
replacement.
remove it in order.
Gotcha.
But it's not, I don't think it's a replacement of the entire track, I
No,
think
it's
it's a
just
quarter
Correct.
of
yeah.
the track essentially. Because you have to essentially cut out that bad part and then redo
Okay.
just that section, so, yeah.
And the
Yeah, I would
majority of
like-
the cost is mobile.
I mean, I'm happy to explore talking to some contractors and seeing if there is another option for repairing. Do you know for sure that there's not a cheaper option to repair it, Mike?
Talking with our engineers, they've told us that you have to basically get it out of there, break it up, chip it out, grind it up, however you want to say it, and then come back in and lay a new asphalt over the top.
Okay.
You're gonna need to remove those roots that are causing the uplift anyways. So you're gonna have to do some groundwork. I think that was part of the mobilization, groundwork and ground prep and all that jazz. And then you're looking at, the root barrier is already in. So we have the root barrier in, but you're still looking at pouring the asphalt and material, and that was the other portion of the cost. So you had the mobilization, the removal of the old material, removal of the roots that have infiltrated that are under there, relay the base, and then pour the asphalt over the top.
Now, if Shauna talks to a contractor and someone wants to donate the time and expense, we don't have to send it out for RFP, right? If it's donated.
It is
So
donated.
Shauna, if you can find someone who wants a lot of like glorious, publicity and wants to do it and can do it cheaper and wants to donate it, then I'm all for it. Just remember though, if you're talking to contractors, if we pay for it, we have to send it out for RFP so that all the contractors can apply to do the work, right? So.
Okay.
Right, and we have to follow the Jones Act and Dave Basin and all that, yeah, which is going to, it could be a lot cheaper if we didn't have to play by, our government federal rules.
Sure.
I mean, I could probably hire a contractor to go do it for $20,000.
Right, well, there might be a contractor in the neighborhood who's willing, to do it for free, right? If we find them, they're a unicorn, I'm all for it.
But the problem is, once we get into contracting, then
Right, exactly, yeah.
the cost just,
What if,
Okay, so we.
this crazy idea. Oh, sorry. I just want to throw
No, you're good.
one last idea out
But
there.
you go ahead.
What if we did a fundraiser for it? a community fundraiser.
The city can't fundraise, but, you know, I hear there's people in the community that know and have good organizations to do fundraising, so,
Like a local.
like a local nonprofit, like a foundation or something, that might be a good thing for them to hear about and
Okay,
and maybe do. So, yeah, I love it.
okay, cool. Thank you.
That's right, that's, okay, so, so we only have like 20 minutes left. So let's talk the trash kind of, you know, let's not leave it off our priority list, Mike, but, you know, we understand we need to look for funding options. Do other people have priorities that are on this list or not on this list that you want to talk about?
So right now I've got annexation, top priority, park trail, been a top priority. We're working on it. Hopefully we get a grant to do it. If not, then we'll just keep trying the best we can and get some money for that thing. We still have questions about Chow Farm, so that's another one, and getting Chow Farm to annex. We also have Castle Oak East, now an island, that could potentially look to annex. I just heard the sheriff's department increase their tax rates from Councilor Manel, so that might change the tax equation when it's all said and done. So maybe that's something we look at and see if it's beneficial, or.
We can increase that, like 18 cents.
So maybe that's something that will help us in our efforts to get these areas to annex. We also have a lot of public requests to finish the wall along Fisher. Seems to get to 124th Street. We're looking at $75,000 to $100,000. Get from where it is to the 124th Street. To get all the way down to Fisher is another, you know, lot more.
So was that not done because, did some of the residents didn't want the wall, or was it money?
Some of the residents didn't want the wall, and so we stopped shy, because there was residents that didn't want it to intrude in or through their area. So instead of trying to buy, construction easements or right-of-ways and things of that nature, we held back. But now, a number of those same people are like, well, you know, I do want the wall.
Right, okay.
But now we're not in the midst of a giant construction project and can roll it in with the TDP funds that we get last time.
Right.
So now it becomes more of a general funded project, one that we would have to fund out of our general fund. Or maybe it qualifies for a street fund, I'll have to look into that.
And I guess I would ask on it too, what is the community benefit of the wall versus the individual homeowner benefit for those that live along?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the wall does look nice.
It does.
But yeah, I think for the most part, it is definitely a benefit to the adjacent property owners as a buffer from Fisher Road.
To my thinking, that there's not that their interests aren't important, but it's more of a lower priority for the community in general.
Yep. And then we still have, so Councilor Thompson, you mentioned the dugouts at the park versus the trail versus like barbecue pits and benches and those sort of things. The difference is money. We can do dugouts at the park, like Dave, our public works person, can build those himself with little or no input and just the cost of concrete. So for a couple $1,000s, we can do that ourselves. Whereas the asphalt track, we have to contract out because we don't have the equipment to do asphalt. Barbecue pits, we can buy barbecue pits or barbecues and put them out at the park and cement them in, and we can do those ourselves. Horseshoe pits we can do ourselves. A lot of the little small projects, little things like that we can accomplish. They're small, but a lot of small things add up over time. And I know that we want to get the big items and the big ticket things checked off, but sometimes a lot of little stuff will equal out, and those are things we can actually accomplish.
Well, how would the dugout, wouldn't that draw possibly more, use or, games by people and then paying, right, don't we pay a rent, like, are they supposed to pay a rental fee to us when they come to use, if they want to use the baseball field, for example?
So that could increase
So
revenue.
it could increase revenue, right, if we create that, the barbecue pit, where do you envision putting the barbecue pit?
You know, I'll have to get with Dave, but I was thinking potentially near the gazebo, or up above near the picnic table. You know, we have the picnic tables up above, that would be an ideal place for a picnic and a barbecue.
Could put a couple more tables.
You mean where my outdoor theater is going?
Yeah. But, I mean, those are ideal locations, because you have a picnic table there, it's on a concrete pad, you can put the barbecue adjacent to it, with just a small bit of concrete. And the other problem is access down there. If you all got to see Dave and I pouring the concrete down there for the, backstop, we had to use a mobile, dumper, like a one-man mobile dumper. And sometimes it got stuck because it couldn't lift the weight of the concrete. So Dave and I had to basically get on each side and ease the thing up so it would pour into the pudding. Turned out to be a lot more work than what we thought it would be. But we got it done and we were able to do it. But, there's.
Like a potential workers' comp claim.
There are limitations on what we can take out there and how we can access. So if we're talking about pouring concrete up on the hill where those picnic tables are,
Yeah.
we probably need a pumper truck, which is gonna cost more.
I do know, I had two families, ask me if they could rent a gazebo and if the gazebo had a barbecue, because they wanted to do a birthday party. So, I mean, personally, I think it makes sense to go next to the gazebo because,
Let's start there, right?
yeah, at least start there.
Yeah, and I think, we've put the gazebo up as a King City facility that can be rented and reserved. The fields themselves and the play fields also can be rented and reserved, but we have commitments with, it's now Albion Soccer, formerly Southside, Blast Softball, and Flash Baseball. So those three organizations contributed money to the field raising and drainage. So those three, we take their requests at the beginning of the season and plug them in, and then the rest remaining is open for reservation or what have you.
So we need some track teams, like some track guys to give us money so they can run our track.
How big is the track?
It's not a full quarter mile,
Right.
unfortunately.
That'd be nice though, if we did have a track.
I need to go deliver my dog outside.
I mean, perhaps when we start doing the expansion and stuff, we can look at those park-like facilities and look to do like a, sports complex that has those features, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's input that we put to the, community planning process and the community engagement process. It's like, hey, we'd like some parks with facilities, what's that gonna take? So then we can, put that in the park FCC fund that we're trying to plan for the future, so there's funding for those things, so that maybe we don't have to do like a Parks and Rec levy. That's the other option is we do what other cities around the region have done and do a Parks and Recreation levy and see if we can get additional funds that way. There are mechanisms and means to generate revenue. They're not always popular, but usually police, fire, life safety, and parks and rec are pretty popular items that people are willing to pay out for. So, I mean, that's maybe something that we do a rate study see what we can look at. Personally, I think we're not quite ready for that yet. We're getting there, but I think once we start moving westward with the growth, I think that's something that we start looking towards. And then as those people move in, it's already established.
It's obviously not a priority over anything that's safety driven or annexation that's revenue driven, but, you know, I've mentioned it before and I'll come back to it as another part thing is I would love to see a dog park down there. Mostly because I would love to see people not letting their dogs off leash in the park anymore.
Right. We've tried to encourage people that if they want to have their dogs off leash to go over to the area on the other side, and we were mowing that,
And that
but it
area.
tore up our mowers.
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's a lot of rocks and things like that that are gonna hurt a mower, but I mean, that's also a perfect space that's unused where if we were to put in the one-time investment to,
Well, then let's put a fence down under those power lines.
yeah, I mean, that's all of the question.
I think we looked into that, and I think they were opposed to putting metal structures.
Yeah.
Metal structures.
Yeah, no.
You could probably do like a wood fence,
But they
or
have,
a plastic, maybe
They have
plastic.
little pipelines there too.
Yeah, that's like,
And they're gonna do more,
boring.
they're exposing it this year, I think they're getting in there this year, some more check release.
Yeah, so Kinder Morgan is doing a replacement. They're gonna see the geotech group out there probably Monday, to do a geotechnical exploration and survey for that gas line going under the Tualatin River. But
Sometimes though, when a company like that is doing a project like that, they also will put in a community project at the same time as a goodwill gesture.
Yeah.
So maybe when they're done with their work, they'd be willing to, put in a little fence area for us.
They were doing an aerial survey yesterday.
we were supposed to have a meeting with them tomorrow, but the rep is sick. So we're gonna put it off until they finish this first round of exploratory, geotechnical work, and then we'll try to talk to them a little bit more. Because we have other questions too about, you know, road crossings and, parks and structures and things throughout that whole area,
Yeah,
right?
river access.
Yeah.
Yeah, river access,
The
the
dock.
whole nine yards. So, the property at 131st?
Yeah.
That should be a top priority, in my opinion, council.
What, have we heard what the developer is doing? Is he breaking ground? Is he?
You're talking about,
Yeah.
at the river.
At the river. Oh, yeah, no,
So I
definitely.
met with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
excavation contractor there Monday.
Oh, there was, okay, so they're breaking ground too.
They
Okay,
get ready.
Yeah. okay, so further, yeah.
At the end. Yeah.
So do you concur, like, we should go for that at the bottom of 131st Street and try to get that in as a top priority this
Yeah.
year if we can?
Yes.
And then,
You said that is just transfer from the county? I mean, what are
It
the
was
costs
the same, I think it was
associated?
taxes or something.
Taxes.
there's back taxes, county wants us to pay those back taxes. There's also, they want us to do a study for access and easement and survey. So there's like a survey, there's the cost of the property itself, and then the back taxes. I'm going off memory, and I believe, Councilor Moore, didn't you reach out to, Michael Dahlstrom?
No.
And then there was an email you sent over to me as well that I had read.
No, I didn't reach out. He had reached out to us and I just re-forwarded that information back to everybody so you guys could find it easily.
So I think we follow up on that, with Washington County and legal counsels and get that ball rolling.
Agreed.
That will be an expense that we also don't have budgeted, but maybe it's something that we're willing to, dig into our reserve or something for.
It's taken so long to get any movement with Washington County on that property. Now that we have it, let's seize the opportunity that we have in front of us.
And to be honest, obtaining it will also could benefit us as far as.
Oh, long term, yeah.
Annexation,
Yeah.
because it's another community asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
We missed our opportunity for MSTEP fund. It's the Metro Transportation Fund. It's a 5-year program. The only thing we probably could have put on there would have been design work for Big Bend. And we're trying to work with Transportation Growth Management, City of Tigard, and Washington County to get all that put together.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't want us to take that on alone and apply for.
the deadline came so fast, and we had so much stuff going on with the master plan, open house, the grant application for the regional flex funds. It was a lot. And
Well,
so we ended up missing it.
I'm apprehensive to apply for another Metro grant until we have good data that we can show about our diversity in our city. And I think we need to really drill down into the census data so that we can pull that out, because we know that is a barrier for us for Metro grants. And I just think that we have to hit it face on. And I'll set up a meeting with Rosenthal as well to discuss my disappointment with how we're being rated at Metro, and that I think their analytics are outdated. And, so I think it's too critical that we miss that one. Right?
We have 3 minutes. Is there any last minute items that we want to add?
Kate, we didn't hear for priority for you. Smart, I don't know, is Smart on?
This is Kate. I've been putting stuff in the chat. My priorities are the same: safety, number 1, and revenue, also number 1.
And then, so just a comment going forward, because I don't have Zoom on my computer, I can't see your chat. So just, for the next time, let's just remember that the rest of us can't see those comments.
That's fine. Just
Yeah.
make sure to give us a round.
Yes, I'm on,
Yeah,
Jamie.
I'm not with them either.
Yeah, can you just do the video and get rid of the sidebar? If you get rid of the sidebar, Ronnie.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
There you go.
Okay, we'll remember that for next time. So I think those are, priorities, revenue generating, number 1. Number 2 is kind of safety, so, and obviously, guys, this isn't our only opportunity to talk about these things. It's just an opportunity to tell Mike tonight that, right, kind of what the priorities are. And then, so I think we should really focus on annexation and 131. Let's focus on how we can look at, let's be creative about the track and see what else we can do down there. I'll set up a meeting with Rosenthal, and then anything else before?
I would just say we have budget meeting coming up March 25th. Is another opportunity to, if you have pet projects or something that's not on this list or that you want to add into it,
Okay.
we can look at the budget at that point in time and see what you want to pull out. We can do a lot of stuff if we have money for it, right?
Sure.
It just depends on, how much do we want to dive into our resources, and do we want to put ourselves at risk? How much risk are we willing to take?
Mhm. So I would just say that in addition to what you guys have said, and then the community aspect is what you were saying as well, is if these little projects you're saying, like the dances or a barbecue or something, if those are something that we could do, that actually community facing and that's useful to our residents, if we can do a couple of small things like that, I think that would be a good goal too.
Agree.
Yeah.
Really small things that are more easily accomplished, but also
Yeah, that would be useful to folks, yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
If you have any other additional items or comments, you can always, I put the lines at the end of this sheet. If you just fill them out, or even if you just email them to me, I'll write them in. And then we'll have it for next year of things that we want to add to the list and try to get accomplished, either short range, mid-range, long range. This is just an ongoing list, and as we get them done, we check them off and move them to the completed cycle and move on to the next round. You know, and, so far we've been pretty good at checking a lot of things, like a lot of these boxes off over the years, and we just continue to chunk away at it. It's not, we're not moving mountains, but slowly but surely we are moving something, right?
Did we lose you guys, or can you hear us?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
You have anything to add, Smart? We can hear you.
For a brief moment there, it went silent, so I wasn't sure if I was still on or not. No, I agree with everyone's input tonight. Again, great opportunity for us as representative of the people to discuss this. And like we all say, safety comes first, and we always want to make sure that whatever we do, we want to make sure that we're all in agreement. So I'm in support of all the input and everything that we've done tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, should we take 1 minute, go to the restroom?
So we'll take, yeah, take one.
Okay.
For those that are just now logging online, we will be just a couple minutes as we take a break between our work session and pick up on our regular council session. So please be patient with us. We'll be going here in 1 second. Through the participants window, right here. You go under the attendees, and then, he can hit attendees. Right now, we've got.
Right.
So there's 3 people.
I'm gonna go get I left.
hot.
Star six.
All right, for those joining us online, just give us a moment to get settled. We just got out of the work session, so apologies that we're starting a few minutes late. We will get going here shortly. And, do we have confirmation that, Sean and Kate and Smart are ready?
We're checking right now.
Okay.
Councilor Moore, Councilor Thompson,
Yeah,
Councilor Thompson,
Sean is,
Councilor
Kate is here.
Philly.
Okay, good. All right, let's go ahead and get this meeting started.
Yes, I'm on. I can hear
you. Oh, thank you, Smart.
Sure thing. This time I'm going to start online. Councilor Thompson,
here.
Councilor Moore,
I'm here.
Councilor Ocholi,
Here.
Councilor Petrie,
Here.
Councilor Manel,
Here.
Councilor Paulson, Mayor Fender.
Here.
All accounted for.
All right, so welcome. Nice to be back to the land of the living. And I've been sick for several weeks, so it's nice to see you folks here in person. Hello again to our councilors online. Moving right along in our agenda, let's see, we'll do our moment of silence now. I want to take a quick moment. You know, this past couple of weeks has been pretty traumatic with racially motivated violence, and I'd like to call out, you know, this violence. You know, white supremacy is part of terrorism, so I'd like to take a quiet moment to reflect on the atrocities of the last couple of weeks. So, moment of silence. All right, thank you all. Tonight, we do not have any minutes to approve, so we will now move on to our open forum. The open forum is, excuse me, I'm having a complete mental block. At this time, the council will be happy to receive your comments pertaining to items on the agenda, including questions, suggestions, complaints, and items for the future. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any comments at this time?
Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your digital hands, but I know you guys would like to talk. Mary Woods, anybody? Please raise your digital hand.
All right, seeing no hands raised on Zoom, we have no attendees in the room with us, so we will move on to new business. We're going to move on to Resolution 2022-02 corrected, resolution of the City Council of the City of King City, Oregon, modifying the union agreement. This time, we are to discuss and consider approving or denying the resolution.
Last year, the council passed a proclamation observing Juneteenth, June 19th, as a observed holiday. This year, in our work session and executive session, we discussed maintaining competitive salaries. Both amendments require an amendment to the union agreement, and so this resolution amends the union agreement to address both of those items simultaneously. More explanation about it, you're welcome to read the resolution if you'd like. It's easier by title only. But ultimately, what this is a modification of the union agreement.
Okay. I will, let's see. I will entertain a motion if we have one.
I'll move, that we approve resolution 2022-02.
Do I have any seconds?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. For those on Zoom, can you raise your hand so I can count you?
I see 3 hands online and the 4 in here, so that's 7. So the resolution passes unanimously.
Okay. Wow, we are moving right along. Police chief report.
Early today.
You get to go home early. Look at this.
Mine's really short too.
This is great.
So, Officer Kevin Patillo is off to, DPSST. This is his first week,
Nice.
and that's all I got.
Ernie, that's not all I have. Because I believe you were gonna tell, the council and folks, watching us about the phenomenal job KCPD did recently in Tigard with the 2 major arrests, right?
Yeah, we've been able to, assist on some of their higher profile calls that they've had. And, so it's always nice to see, you know, all the interagencies that are cooperating with each other, that are handling from armed robberies to another one that was, a vehicular assault on an officer by ramming a car. And so it's something that we've been included in and, you know, been involved in. I don't really talk about much stuff until after stuff's adjudicated, but.
Got it, okay. Well, we got some good, you guys got some good kudos, some good
Yeah.
shout outs.
Yeah,
And I always like to pass those shout outs out to everyone else so that they know they are not, you know, they are.
And we did, and with the awards that are gonna be coming up, there's gonna be an additional, one for Officer Kazmersky. They'll make 4 total
Wow.
over the number of years since we've been able to do the awards, but, he had another AED, hit and
Wow.
stuff that, helped prolong somebody to be able to be transported to the hospital for, you know, higher care. So that was another great one for him.
Cool.
Now that you got me on a roll.
I know.
Bringing up all this stuff. I want to save it for later, but.
All right, we'll
I'll
see.
give you a little bit there.
Perfect, well, any questions for the chief? You can't let him go home quite yet because it's only 6:10 and he's used to being here until 9, so. But,
I've only been here since 5.
yeah,
Sorry.
sure. Shauna, Smart, or Kate, do you have any questions for Ernie?
I do not think so.
None? Okay, perfect. Just a quick reminder to be
Wait.
here, and I'm thinking about it, next month, at next month's council meeting, we will be presenting, a lot of police, of KCPD, awards, and we will also have one, citizens award. So I highly encourage anyone watching this to attend our meeting and come and congratulate the officers for all of their outstanding work. We have held these awards for the last year and a half because we wanted to present them in person. And of course, with COVID-19, we haven't been able to do that. But many of the awards are life-saving awards and other types of honors. And so next month's council meeting will be wonderful. So come support.
We hope the vendors come through on the awards that are being
Wait.
sent here. That's part of the problem.
All right.
I'm a victim of the supply chain right now.
Sure, right. We can have the kids of King City make them if we need
There you go.
interim awards in the meantime. All right, wonderful. Mike?
All right. I feel like I'll be repeating myself, but many of the things that I discussed in the work session regarding this last week and the open house that we had last Thursday, we had a little less than 100 people, I think, in this area. We experienced some technical difficulties. We did not have a camera. This time we have a live camera feed, which we did not have before. So we've got that going now. We could not get that working, and we couldn't get it to link to the computer. We did have PowerPoint though, so we had PowerPoint slides up and running. We had audio in here and in the lounge area. we had a slight delay on the display in the lounge in comparison to the audio above. We also had some concerns about the audio at home. One of our speakers was wearing a mask, and when that speaker was speaking into the microphone, it was really hard to hear that individual clearly, and it sounded very muffled. I did get a chance to go back and review the YouTube, which was basically a recording of the Zoom presentation and everything online. You can hear what's going on through YouTube, and you can hear the presenters and all that. What we did not have was an online interaction, like a question and answer or an online chat or anything like that. We didn't have the personnel set aside for that. What we had done was establish a online survey through the website, and so online participants were supposed to go to the survey to respond and provide input. I don't believe that was made very clear.
Okay.
And so the input that we've got, or that we've received so far, is that the crowd size that we had, the facilities that we had, and the technical challenges that we had with the hybrid fashion made for really a kind of unsuccessful setting. And so what we're trying to do is modify our settings a little bit and try to figure out how we can get that input more on a one-on-one basis. And so what we're looking at is going for a second round, like another open house, but instead of doing a hybrid fashion, just do an online open house, question and answer setting, where people can ask a question of the consultants and the panelists. That question can be answered one by one, and we'll work our way through and have a sit-down setting where it's open. People can submit their questions, and we'll try to answer them as they come in. So we're trying to schedule that right now for June 14th at 6 p.m. So that's a Tuesday evening, not a Wednesday, but it would be in that second week in June to host that meeting.
Okay. So
other than that, we did have, after the presenters, we had Clean Water Services here. We had 3J Consulting and STJ Alliance, which is the transportation engineers were here. And after their presentations, we broke up into 4 or 5 different groups, as well as the counselors that were at the podium here. And the crowd broke up and dispersed into smaller groups. It was still very difficult to hear for some folks because there was so much crowd activity. So, I mean, it's definitely a larger forum, or one that doesn't reverberate the sound as much as this room does.
Right.
Would have been better. Maybe that's something we think about, putting soundboards around this room might help, things of that nature. But this is, this facility is made for 75 people max, and we were probably closer to 100.
Right.
And so we had standing room only in a number of places. We did get some good input in the circles that we were at. The consultants compiled that and took it back to them. I feel that we heard a lot of the same arguments and a lot of the same inputs that we've received before. One of the things that I would encourage everyone to do is, instead of spamming emails, to send their comments to the proper chain through the website, the master planning website, so that it goes on the record instead of to your emails, which really have no recourse or system to get into the record, right? The official way to do it would be to respond and submit your comments to the consultants, then it gets put in part of the public engagement record. If they just email the council and commissioners, that's not getting into the public record, and it's also breaking up the lines of communication and creates for some challenges that the council should be aware of. Other than that, we did submit for the regional flex funds account through Metro for trails. We are ranked very poorly due to our regional diversity. us and Sherwood probably rank the lowest in this area. We also have prepared the ARPA grant program to launch. So that should launch this month, and we'll start accepting applications for regional employers on that front. We did our first round of reporting with ARPA. ARPA created a nice easy button for cities.
Yeah, streamlined.
Yeah, streamlined easy button. So they put a minimum cap of $10 million for any municipality or city to claim as a loss. And so we just hit the easy button because we didn't get $10 million, and it just makes our reporting a lot easier. So we're still going to move forward with the direction of the council and the resolutions that were passed back in September, October. But the reporting to the federal government and our auditing procedures and numbers are a lot easier now, thanks to the efforts of, the House representatives in the state working together to modify and streamline that process. Beyond that, we put out applications for the administrative assistant, looking to hire some additional help here to help with passports, to help with the new software, Excel software, and so also our chief had a letter of commendation from one of our sister cities in and around this area for his work. So kudos to you. I did.
Kudos.
I didn't know. And it was from Commander, I think it was like Bobby Riders, or perhaps, I'm trying to remember who it is, this point time off the top of my head, but kudos. And special thanks to the other officers, Officer Huffman, who responded, Officer Aragoni, who responded, and special kudos to Officer Aragoni, who got up front the other day when we were short-staffed and was helping out the passports at the passport window for, 6-7 hours. So, in a small city like this, it's all hands on deck, and we wear many hats, and any little bit helps. So, special kudos there. What am I forgetting? Castell's up and running.
Yeah, because there was one more on, Officer Huffman was in on the double homicide up at Embassy.
Right.
And stuff, and so being a brand new guy, it was kind of an eye opener for him.
Sure.
And stuff, so that was, an experience for him.
Yeah.
So the crew's been busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a sidewalk project that cracked, so we're gonna have to, up here, some of
The new one?
yeah, it's still under warranty, so they're gonna have to call the contractors out to work on that a little bit.
Okay.
We do have streets up for repair this next year, so, I'll announce what those are. Starts with Queen Anne, down off of, Royalty Parkway down Fisher Road. And then we have, some projects over in Garden Villa, thank you. And those would include, Monterey, Carmel, and Camino. So those are the 4 street projects that we have coming up for this next fiscal year.
Okay.
Budget meeting is May 25th coming up. So important dates, May 25th for budget, June 14th for online open house question and answer. And then we have budget hearings starting in June.
Okay. A couple questions. So I guess first comment, apologies that I was not at our open house the other evening. Like I indicated earlier, I have been out sick for over 2 weeks, essentially, which now makes it feel like 2 months. And so I was unable to come because I was feverish and didn't want to, anyway, I was ill. So apologies for that. Just quickly, I think it's important for especially those individuals who are going to be watching the recording of this to know that the very best information on what type of meeting, especially when it comes to the master planning, which we all know is a hot button topic, to understand the formatting of this evening and what the expectations should be for our citizens is to make sure and get your information from City Hall, right? Some of the feedback that I heard was that a lot of people were very frustrated that they weren't able to have time or didn't have it wasn't the format where they were here to provide testimony or speak at length, and that simply wasn't the type of meeting that it was envisioned. And again, we are back only at the early, right, we paused for quite a long time. We're now back to restarting the efforts again, and there will be time for public comment, for testimony, for hearings. The hearings are going to be where our individuals can come, put on the record their frustrations, their opposition, and all of those things. At open houses and information gathering sessions, that's not the appropriate time for individuals to come and communicate. And I think that there's still a lot of misinformation that is deliberately being disseminated around the city, and it's just getting people riled up. On the flip side, I also think that we need to make sure that our messaging is very clear. Will you be able to testify at this meeting? No. Let's make sure and get in front of it and say right away, right, this is an open house, this is information gathering, right, or, right, you won't have an opportunity to speak, right? So for my one suggestion for our online question and answer session, if there's going to be any kind of limitation as to what people are going to be able to say or ask or whatever that format is, let's get in front of it and make sure that people know they're not going to have unbridled time to comment or to vent or, right, to air their grievances, which I think is what a lot of people are wanting, is they want to have a venting opportunity, and we just haven't had that yet, right? And it will come, but we again need to ask people to be patient. We understand the frustration of, right, the process. We can't change what the process is. It is what it is. So those are just my feedback from not being there. I have no firsthand knowledge of what it was like. I just heard bits and pieces, but I do understand that was a frustration. So let's make sure that our consultants are being very clear about what the public, what their engagement and what their role is going to be, so they know ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, Mayor. I believe that there is a disconnect in perceptions or perceptions of concept, right? Mm-hmm. So we haven't quite begun the public testimony or hearing process yet. Right. We're still we're in public engagement and outreach. So we're trying to get constructive input, like, what do you feel about this type of road? What do you feel about this type of pathway? What do you feel about this type of design on that side of the house? Or what do you feel about this color? What kind of park would you? These are the questions that we're asking.
We have a whole city center that no one's talking about,
right.
We haven't even gotten to that yet, right? And it's unfortunate because there's so many amazing things about our plans, but we haven't even gotten that engagement because of all of this, which is really unfortunate. Not to dismiss the concerns that citizens have, but at the same time, this can't be the only line of communication or discussion, right? We have to continue those discussions, but also broaden the conversation. So.
And we did get some good comments and some good input that we hadn't heard before. There's one individual that was suggested having building up on the far side so that you could access the views of, Mount Hood and surrounding areas, and put like a restaurant up top. And so that was one. There was others that had questions about the retention ponds on the far side. They're currently man-made weirs that they flood and put across, and what we could do with those to integrate them into park-like features, things of that nature. Yeah. There were some good, solid inputs that we received throughout the process. Of course, we've all heard of the Alternative 5 thing, and, I think our engineer was explaining that to them, that, Their alternative 5 is essentially the baseline for VSED. That's a zero road build out essentially through the area, and so that's our baseline that we're starting at. At least that's my understanding, that's what it was describing me. But we still look at all the alternatives and weigh those equally and see which one rises to the top, right? So the consultants are in their process right now, and as a city, we wait until they compile the project and the documents and then present them to us to review. And at that point in time, we review them in a public hearing setting. And then that's when people provide their testimony, and that's when they get their chance to pound on the podium, if you will, and provide their inputs, and everyone gets their 3 minutes, right? We're just not there yet. We're at the input gathering phase. So.
All right, thank you. We're going to start with counselors on Zoom first tonight. So I'm just going to arbitrarily choose Kate to give us an update.
Well, I've got great news for everyone. I have very little update. I did just want to add to the Mayor Finder's report and what Mike said as well, that the city has not yet proposed anything. We as counselors are in the process of learning what some of the options are. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. I do not have an update. Thank you for yours, though. I appreciate it. And who's next?
All right, let's go to Smart.
All right, Jamie, thank you. Yes, I'd like to echo the support here because, again, we want everyone to know, ever since we've been on this project, we have always been open to the general public. And yes, we're here to represent the people, and we want to really listen to the people. I was really excited by the turnout, you know. I did thank the people for coming out. We all thank them. We all thank them for coming out. And again, we just want them to be part of this discussion. We do live in this community ourselves, so we just want to make sure that we're doing this with everyone's input, you know. So we're open to people participating. Welcome participation and welcome their input. We'll continue working with everyone, and we'll continue making it open for everyone to be able to participate. So I'm glad to hear Mike said we're going back on a second round to actually take care of the feedback we got from the first one. So again, I would like to encourage people, if you have any input or participation you'd like to bring to the table, please come to the table and we'll all do this together. With that said, I don't have much to share today. I don't know, can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, and we can now see you in the chamber, which is exciting.
Okay, good. All right, so the Edgewater meeting is tomorrow, the board meeting, 6:30. I plan to be there to see because the board was re-elected. They did re-election for the board members that were open, and the two board members were re-elected, and Joe is still, he was also the president of the group right now. The water advisory board meeting is next month, June 8th. And like we all have seen a number of rain. We'll be having rain, and from the perspective of river level, we're also seeing the melting of the snow. The weather has been up and down, and so that's what the expectation has been with the snow caps coming down. We'll have more water flow and river levels that shouldn't cause any concern for drought, but they'll keep on monitoring and sharing. So I'll bring any report back, and if we have any concerns, please Mike or Ronnie, you know, if anyone has reached out to any of the councilors, please let me know and I'll take that to the meeting next month. So June 8th is the next meeting. And that's all I have today, Jamie. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Smart. Shauna?
Hi, I don't have anything to report this week.
We will go to Micah.
Now to report, the CDBG did not meet in, this month. We did not have any agenda items, so it was canceled this month. Small Cities meeting is not until June. I did, however, attend the OSC, conference, the spring conference, in late April over in Hermiston. Was a fantastic opportunity, first off, to see the city of Hermiston, which I had never been to before. It was really, a neat conference, a lot of opportunities to speak to a lot of our neighbors and counselors from other areas, and some preliminary planning with some of those as far as some areas where we could team together on ideas, which was really great. Also, some really decent information on engaging with the public, which I will share after the meeting with you all.
Their playground structure is on point. We have some major, I have some major jealousy of Hermiston's playground.
Yes, if we ever double the size of our park, we could put in a comparable playground. It's enormous.
Yeah. Awesome.
Draw some pictures, right?
Yeah, great. Well, Andy guys, I can tell you that.
Pictures are great. A number of updates. I kind of just want to have a statement from the open house. Just wanted to, hopefully people watch it, everyone's listening. So Kingston Terrace open house. Thank you for everyone for coming out. I hear you. We hear you. I want to stress, no decision has been made until the study is complete and all alternatives are looked at. We need to look at which alternative is the least impact to the community. This is a master plan that may or may not come to fruition with the alternatives that are currently being studied by our engineers and planners. And we need to stay in compliance with OAR 660012. It's great reading. You should read it. Following transportation and planning. Our expert planners and engineers are working diligently in coming up with a plan that we as a council are looking at. This isn't just about Fisher Road. It's about continuity, safety, and traffic flow through the entire city of King City and the planning of Kingston Terrace in our urban growth boundary. Let me stress, this is a plan. Once an alternative is found, that is the most feasible alternative that goes down as a plan. Bulldozers won't show up the next day to work. Current landowners would have to sell or develop the land themselves. And with doing that, this plan we are putting together could be implemented. This plan, we're looking at 10, 20, 30, 50 years. Plans can always change. If at the time it comes to develop an area of the master plan, it comes up as a better alternative, then they can go to council at that time to have the plan changed or revised. I have not made up my mind, as all information regarding all alternatives have not been completed on this master plan. I, as a councilor, am working hard to ensure this plan conforms to a master plan that will have the least impact on the entire community.
And Lori. Okay, so I have some updates for you on what Metro is working on, and attended the Metro Policy Advisory Committee, or MPAC, in April. And there's been three things I thought was of interest for us. The first topic is called the overview of the statewide rulemaking efforts concerning climate-friendly and equitable communities. So basically, this is an effort being led by the LCDC that will update the Oregon Administrative Rules, the OAR, for transportation and land use planning statewide. It's going to be something they're going to do this year. The key areas that I found interesting was climate-friendly area rules, which is like, it includes rules for cities and counties to adopt boundaries for existing centers by December 2025, and we're on that list. King City Town Center will need to do this. The number 2 item was transportation system planning rules, new rules that we may have to be addressing, where we're already working on that. And the number 3 was interesting, the parking rules. So they want to plan to modernize Oregon's regulatory approach to parking. Parking rules will apply directly to cities and counties in the Portland region. That's it. They may prohibit cities and counties from applying minimum parking requirements to development applications that are received after December of this year for certain specific development types. Metro will be able to propose alternatives if they can meet the goals that the LCD rulemaking is trying to do. So again, interesting. The second topic, what I found interesting, is they're working on a new, Metro's working on a new garbage and recycling systems facility plan. And this is a new project, and their goal is to identify the operators in the field, including Metro, private companies, and various recyclers. And along with that, they did update Ridwell's status. In April, Metro issued them a license to operate their Portland warehouse. A license will be good until June of 2027. Also, April this year, DEQ issued them a solid waste disposal site permit, which is good for 10 years. So they're, set to go. Depending, how it works out with everybody. The last topic concerned the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP, and what MPAC is going to continue working on what discussion items they want to keep working on, and they're actually making a real effort to figure out the best way to reach out to and engage the communities in this discussion as well. So a lot of stuff going on.
Very germane.
Oh, yeah. And just locally, Garden Village just had their elections. Kathy Leonetti, we all know Kathy. Kathy is going to be continuing on as the president. She was reelected for that. King City Condos is having their annual meeting next week, which is going to include elections, and I understand it could be interesting.
Thank you.
Who's the new HOA president, do you know?
Where?
King City Condos?
Next week.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Wednesday night is their annual meeting, and they'll be electing new board.
And Councilor Petrie, before you, or on your report, do you want to talk about our trip out to the tourism?
Yeah, another thing I missed because I missed it.
Sure, so we had, all the councilors were invited to attend an event put on by Washington County Tourism, or for Tualatin Valley, Tourism. And it was kind of a kickoff for their season. They also have a new building. It's called Wingspan, I think is what the building's called, out in Hillsborough. Really nice facility, but they invited us all to take a look at it, and then to it's kind of a reboot for tourism in general in Washington County. So it was fun to see other people. The councilors were there, vendors were there, and they put on a nice little tours for folks. They had a nice little spread and some wine tasting. It was all good.
I'm very excited about this. I really am.
And they monumentalized King City. So,
Oh, yeah.
In the concrete.
yeah, in the concrete,
Exactly.
King City.
I could not find it. After you said you found it, I could not.
Did you take a photo of it?
I did, yeah. I took a
Okay.
photo,
Can
and,
you share it?
Councilor
Can the
Thompson
city
took a
share
photo,
it?
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you guys share your photos online? I'd love to see them.
Yeah, you can.
Wonderful.
So yes, that was quite fun. Good.
Oh, so fun. So again, I was very ill for most of the time, so I don't have as much as I normally would to share. I was able, I set up a meeting with Captain Quinn at Station 35, and I met, really my secret agenda was to go and grovel at Captain Quinn's feet to not leave us, because as some of you know, he is moving on to another station here, kind of probably in July, August time. CVFR has not announced who his replacement is. There is a just incredible amount of promotions and kind of upward mobility within CVFR, and they're going to have, they anticipate just a outrageous number of applicants for that position. For those who might not know, Station 35 is the most, if not one of the most active stations, certainly because of all the medical calls that come out of there. And so it's a coveted position for any kind of new captain, I would assume, anyone really, to work there. It was great. I got to spend, of course, I've been to Station 35 before, but this time I got to sit down, break bread with all the crew. The medical crew was not there when I first got there. Then, so I was able to sit with Captain Quinn and the fire crew, and then the medical crew came back, and then they left again on a call. So just in my short time of being there, I could tell how busy they are. But it was great. I got a real detour, like a real detailed tour of the station, and it's quite incredible, some of the upgrades within the equipment that have happened. And our Station 35 fire truck is in the international calendar, featured, we're in the month of July, a couple of years ago. So that is a big claim to fame that I was excited about. So that was a fun trip. Today I spoke with all of the candidates who were successful in their Washington County campaign. So I invited Aaron Woods to come have coffee with me in a couple weeks to kind of talk about all things King City, and of course spoke with our new auditor and Catherine Harrington and Kevin Barton and so forth. So so those were some fun calls to make today. I want to take a quick moment to just, on behalf of the city, and to inform some of you who might not know him, Ross Brown, who is the former mayor of Cornelius. He went missing a year ago, and his body was found over the weekend. Sadly, his car went into the river and was found. So while it was very tragic news, on behalf of the city and all of you, I'm sure, I already kind of reached out, but we hope that at least, this will bring some closure to his family and friends. Ralph and I served on the CDBG before Micah took over the appointment, and he was a lovely man. So our condolences to his family. And then, Ernie, I have to apologize. Every year I bring you a basket and KCP.
There's a lot going on.
Right, I always bring the city about the office of the basket for police week, and sadly I was very ill. So again, yet one more thing that got missed. But here in a moment, I'd like to move to allow me to read in the National Police Week proclamation, which we just missed off the agenda, so I'll ask for that in a second. Lastly, though, my last announcement as mayor's thing is, yet again, I had another mayor's morning where no one showed up. So, I have to say, I grin and I try to be jovial about it, but I have to say, right, it is upsetting because I miss my kids' soccer game, and I miss family time, and I miss, I miss time with my small children. I do it because I love this city. I will continue to do it. I'm not going to give up. But we're going to be into, we're in May, and the last Saturday of every month, as I have done this entire year, I sit at coffee time from 9 to 10:30 on the last Saturday of the month, right? And I'm there, and no one else is there. I welcome anyone, right, to come and join me and to talk about all things King City. This is your opportunity to meet face-to-face with me, to ask questions, to give feedback, to have a discussion, and I hope it catches on at some point. Someday, we're going to get citizens to come meet me and talk to me. I have been making friends. There's a group of gentlemen who meet there at the same time every month, so I do at least get to talk to a couple of constituents. But they certainly are not there to see me. So, again, I welcome anyone from the community to come and meet with me and break bread and civilly discuss with me. Right? With that, I am going to make a quick request of the council to allow me to add a reading of the National Police Week proclamation into the record. So can, let's see, if I'm asking for it, Mike, do I need a motion from someone else, or?
Yeah.
So can someone move, please, to allow me to read this proclamation?
I move to allow Mayor Bender to read the proclamation for National Police Week for
Thank you.
2022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Second.
Those on the Zoom, can you raise your hand?
Aye.
Raised her hand.
All right. Okay.
Raise your
We
hand.
have to read.
Has it been approved, Mike?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I'm going to read, now, we do not take support of our police lightly. We ardently support King City here, King City Police Department in King City. And with this, I'd like to recognize National Police Week 2022 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the King City Police Department, and whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the Police Department of King City, Oregon play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of King City. And whereas it is vital that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of the members of the King City Police Department, and that members of the King City Police Department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the rights and dignity of all citizens. Whereas the members of the King City Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore I, Mayor of King City, Oregon, call upon all citizens of King City and upon all professional, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 11th through 17th, 2022 as Police Officer Memorial Week, a week that all of our citizens may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon the citizens of King City, Oregon to observe May 15th, 2022 as Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice and service to their communities, or have become disabled in the performance of their duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. Thank you. Again, Chief, a little tardy. Please don't take that as any kind of reflection of our.
Our meetings fall in the
Right.
weird.
They do feel, they fall on weird.
So it's like if we were at the beginning of the month or the end of the month,
Right.
we'd be perfect.
So, with hindsight, we celebrate you, or with hindsight, right? With that, do we have any other items for the good of the order?
I just have one more thing that I want to announce, and that State of the City comes up in June.
Right.
At June 15th, it'll be the 5 o'clock hour.
Okay.
We typically do refreshments and invite people. The mayor is expected to give a speech on the state of the city, right? And then, we'll have some refreshments and stuff, so we'll send out invites. See how many folks we can get here at 5 PM, and then we'll break at, say, like 5:45, 5:50, and then, jump into regular session at 6.
I think, you and I, let's talk, a little and drill down, and we will follow up with counselors, individually about roles and participation.
Okay.
Because I'd like to assign a few things. right, we are a team, so, you and I can talk about that and then figure out how to do that, all right?
All right. Sounds good.
Any other items for the good of the order? Don't believe so. I will entertain a motion, and we are cracking tonight, so.
I move we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, hold your hands up on Zoom. Those in the room,
We have three.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Are we having an executive session?
Oh, someone have a question?
I think somebody just asked if we were having executive session.
We are not having an executive session tonight. You are all excused.
Okay, bye,
Have a good
everybody.
evening.